Welcome to another deep dive. This time, you've given us quite the mix of materials to work with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have excerpts from Great Books of the Western World and then its companion volume, The Great Ideas, a Syntopicon.
Sounds like fun.
It does, and
Yeah.
it looks like you're really interested in seeing how all these like classic philosophical concepts connect to the challenges that we all face
Yeah,
in
yeah.
modern life. So that's exactly where we're going to be focusing our energy today
Yeah.
during this deep dive.
It's fascinating to me how these texts, some written like thousands of years ago,
Yeah.
still have so much relevance to our struggles today. I mean,
Yeah.
they grapple with very fundamental questions about human nature, like desire, reason, virtue, vice, freedom. We're all still figuring this stuff out today, right?
Totally. Like, it's almost as if we're having this conversation
Yes.
with like the greatest minds in history, right?
Right.
Asking them for advice on our current problems.
I like that.
I'm already super intrigued. Where should we start?
Well, let's just dive right into some of the great books excerpts that you provided. And one theme that I noticed coming up again and again was this idea of like understanding human nature.
Okay.
So, thinkers like Aristotle with his Nicomachean Ethics
Yeah.
spent a lot of time exploring concepts like virtue and vice.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by the idea of Aristotle's golden mean.
Yeah,
Like he's saying that virtue is not necessarily about being perfect,
right.
but it's about finding that balance between extremes,
Yes.
right? And I can see how that could be really relevant to like a tough decision,
Absolutely.
especially one that maybe has some ethical implications.
Exactly. Imagine you're struggling with a choice at work or in a personal relationship, and there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
Aristotle's framework could actually help you analyze the situation
Right.
by asking yourself which option represents the golden mean, the balanced approach in this specific context.
Yeah, that's a really practical way to apply this like ancient philosophy to
Eh,
your modern life. It's like having Aristotle as your personal ethics coach.
Exactly.
What other great books excerpts really stood out to you in terms of this idea of relating them to modern challenges?
Well, you also included some selections from Rousseau,
Yeah.
particularly his ideas on the social contract. And I know that you've been feeling some pressure from societal expectations lately,
Definitely.
and I think Rousseau's perspective could be illuminating for you.
I'm really curious. How do you think his ideas on the social contract could help someone who maybe feels trapped by those expectations?
Well, you see, Rousseau argues that as individuals, we willingly surrender some of our freedoms
Okay.
in exchange for the benefits of living in a society.
Okay.
However, he also emphasizes the importance of individual liberty. So I think if you really examine that tension between individual needs and societal demands,
Yeah.
it might give you a new perspective on how to deal with the pressures you're facing.
That's so interesting. So it's like, instead of feeling like you're a victim of society's rules,
Correct.
you can start to see yourself as like an active participant
Exactly.
in this unspoken agreement.
Yes,
And that can empower you to kind of like negotiate those boundaries more effectively.
exactly.
In your own life.
Exactly, and that's just one example. The great books are full of these timeless insights that can really help us reframe our modern challenges.
Okay, so we have all these amazing thinkers from like across the centuries offering us their advice and guidance. Now, you mentioned the great ideas, a syntopicon.
Yes.
It looks a little intimidating, to be honest.
I can understand that. Think of it as like a guide to the great books, almost like a map to
Wow.
help you navigate this vast landscape of philosophical thought.
Yeah.
It's organized around key concepts and allows you to see how different philosophers have approached the same problems over time.
Okay.
So it can be especially helpful, I think, when you're facing a challenge that requires a multifaceted approach.
So it's almost like a cheat sheet to understanding these big ideas.
In a way, yeah. For example, it delves into the nature of knowledge, the existence of God,
Right.
the limits of human understanding. These are all questions that have baffled philosophers for centuries and are still relevant today.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this could be really useful.
Yeah.
But can you give me like a real-world example?
Sure.
How could the syntopicon help someone who's like grappling with a concrete problem?
Well, let's say you're feeling completely overwhelmed by a project at work.
Yeah.
You could turn to the Syntopicon
Right.
and explore how philosophers have approached problem solving throughout history.
Okay.
And you might discover a concept like Bacon's scientific method, which is, a systematic approach to analyzing information and testing hypotheses.
Right.
You can directly apply that to your work challenge.
So instead of just feeling stuck,
Right.
you can try to like Break down the problem into smaller, more manageable steps.
Exactly.
Just like a scientist would approach an experiment.
Exactly.
I like that.
Or imagine you're feeling anxious or uncertain about the future. The Syntopicon could lead you to discussions about fate and chance, determinism versus free will.
Right.
Now, these philosophical explorations might not provide easy answers, but they can offer different lenses through which to view your situation, perhaps even help you cope with the unknown.
That's so helpful. So it's like, instead of being intimidated by all these big abstract concepts,
Right.
we can use them as tools to help us better understand our own experiences.
Absolutely.
I'm really starting to see the value in this approach.
Good. And that's just the beginning. The connections between these classic ideas and our modern challenges are practically endless.
I'm excited to keep digging deeper. This is already proving to be a fascinating deep dive. What other connections have you made between these texts and the challenges we face today? It's amazing to me that we can find guidance and new perspectives on even our most personal struggles in these ancient texts.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture? The great books don't really shy away from tackling political and social issues, right?
Absolutely not. In fact, I think some of the most powerful connections we can draw between these classic ideas and our modern challenges are in the realm of politics and society.
Yeah, it's interesting because we often think of philosophy as this abstract, detached field. But when you look at these great books, they're grappling with some very real world issues like justice, liberty, war, revolution.
Right.
These themes that are still shaping our world today.
Exactly. And the Syntopicon can be incredibly helpful in navigating these complex issues.
Okay.
For instance, you'd mentioned that you were concerned about growing social inequalities. Well, the Syntopicon could guide you to excerpts from Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, which offers a historical and economic analysis of class struggle and the distribution of wealth.
I will say I'm not a communist by any means.
Of course.
But I do think it's important to understand different perspectives on these issues. So do you think reading Marx could actually help someone who's concerned about social inequality today?
Absolutely. Whether you agree with his conclusions or not, Marx's work provides a framework for understanding the historical roots of these inequalities and how they continue to kind of manifest in modern society.
Right.
It's a powerful tool, I think, for analyzing the systems and structures that perpetuate these issues.
That makes sense. It's like understanding the mechanics of a problem
Exactly.
can help you find more effective ways to address it. It's not about just agreeing or disagreeing.
Right.
It's about having that deeper understanding.
Precisely. And it's not just about economic inequality.
Okay.
The great books and the Syntopicon offer insights into a whole range of social and political challenges. Let's say you're feeling disillusioned with the current political climate, maybe even powerless in the face of events you can't control.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling these days.
I think so too. And you could explore Plato's Republic. He dissects the nature of tyranny and the dangers of unchecked authority. Now, again, it might not offer immediate solutions,
Right.
but it can provide historical context for understanding power dynamics and the importance of civic engagement.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
But it's true. Understanding how these issues have played out in the past can give us a better grasp on the present and maybe even help us navigate the future.
Right.
It's like we have all these wise advisors from across history just offering their perspectives on our current dilemmas.
And that's the beauty of these enduring ideas. They transcend specific historical context.
Yeah.
And they offer insights into the timeless challenges of human governance and social interaction.
Okay, so we've talked about personal challenges and then bigger societal issues.
Yes.
But how do we make sure that these philosophical ideas actually stick with us? How can we move beyond just understanding them intellectually to actually applying them in our lives?
Well, that's where the power of examples comes in. These philosophical texts aren't just abstract treatises.
They're full of stories, anecdotes, real-life situations that illustrate these concepts in action.
So it's not about just memorizing definitions.
Yeah.
It's about seeing these ideas come to life.
Exactly. The great books are filled with vivid examples of human behavior, both virtuous and vicious, wise and foolish. And the Syntopicon can help you find specific passages that illustrate the concepts you're struggling with.
Okay.
For example, if you're trying to understand Aristotle's golden mean, You could look for stories that demonstrate how this principle played out in ancient Greece,
Hmm.
or even try to find parallels in contemporary events.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think stories have a way of making these abstract ideas more tangible,
I agree.
more relatable. They help us connect with these thinkers on a human level and see how their ideas can have real impact on our lives.
And what's fascinating is that what resonates with one person might not resonate with another.
Yeah.
The same story could spark completely different insights for different readers.
That's the beauty of engaging with these ideas. It's a deeply personal journey of discovery.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I was starting to feel a little overwhelmed. Like,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to absorb all this wisdom
Right.
from all these great minds?
Well,
But you're right. It's not about finding the right answer.
exactly.
It's about finding the insights that resonate with me
Right.
and figuring out how to apply them to my life and my challenges.
Exactly. And that's where the true value of this deep dive lies.
Yeah.
It's not about becoming an expert in philosophy. It's about enriching your understanding of the world and your place in it.
It feels like we've only scratched the surface of what these texts have to offer,
Oh, yeah.
but I already feel like I'm starting to see the world in my own life in a new light.
Right.
Like these ideas, even the ones that challenge me, they're giving me a new framework for understanding my experiences.
That's wonderful to hear. And remember, this is just the beginning. The journey of exploration, of connecting these timeless ideas to our modern lives is an ongoing process.
I'm excited to continue that journey.
Yeah.
This deep dive has been incredibly illuminating, but I'm curious, as we wrap up, what's the one big takeaway
Okay.
that you hope will carry with us from this exploration of the great books and the great ideas?
You know, if I had to choose one key takeaway, it would be this. While the world around us is constantly changing the fundamental questions about human nature,
Yeah.
knowledge, and our place in the universe, they remain remarkably consistent.
That's so true. Like these great books, they're like a testament to the enduring power of these big questions.
Precisely, and engaging with the ideas presented in these texts, even the ones that we might disagree with, can help us navigate the complexities of our own lives and the world around us.
So it's not really about like finding all the answers. It's more about expanding our perspectives and developing our critical thinking skills.
Easily. Think of it as like building your own personal philosophical toolkit.
Right.
You know, the more tools you have, the better equipped you'll be to like approach challenges, analyze situations, and make informed decisions.
I love that analogy. And like the Syntopicon is almost like the guide to that toolkit, right?
Exactly. It helps us to see the connections between different ideas, different thinkers, different approaches to the same fundamental questions.
Right.
And it encourages us to think critically and not just accept any single perspective as the absolute truth.
This has been an incredible journey. We've covered so much ground, like from personal challenges to societal issues, from ancient wisdom to modern applications. And I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for a power of these timeless ideas.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
The beauty of these texts is they offer endless possibilities for exploration and interpretation.
That's true.
What you take away from them today might be different from what you discover a year from now.
You know, that reminds me of something we talked about earlier, this idea of like fate versus free will.
Oh, yeah.
We discussed how some philosophers believe that like everything is predetermined,
Right.
while others argue for the power of individual choice.
It's a question that has fascinated philosophers for centuries, and there's no easy answer.
Exactly. But I think the real takeaway here is that even if we don't have complete control over our destinies, our choices, our actions, even our thoughts shape the world around us.
Beautifully put, engaging with these philosophical ideas, I think, empowers us to become active participants in shaping our own lives and the world that we inhabit. It encourages us to question assumptions, challenge the status quo, and strive for a better future.
This deep dive has been a true inspiration. It's shown me how these seemingly distant philosophical concepts are actually deeply relevant to our everyday lives, our struggles, our hopes, our aspirations.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final thought. As you continue exploring these great books and the great ideas, consider how you can use these insights to make a positive impact on the world around you. Whether it's in your personal relationships, your professional endeavors, or your engagement in your community. Remember that these ideas have the power to shape not just our understanding, but also our actions.
That's a really powerful message to end on. Thank you so much for guiding us through this fascinating deep dive. It's been an absolute pleasure exploring these timeless ideas with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And remember, the journey of discovery doesn't end here.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep connecting these ideas to your own life and the world around you.